Everyone, this is the tutorial for the HIVE template. This one's a little more involved than my last few, so a lot of layers to this, but it's pretty simple to use. I'm going to break it down for you. All the action takes place in this hex folder here. That's that middle hexagon. Most of the action rather, but we'll start from the top. So this first folder you'll see is the bottom text. I'm going to move over a kid from a baseball team. We're going to change everything to kind of match the colors for that. So we'll start there. I'll probably be revisiting a bunch of these folders over and over to change colors, stuff like that. So I know this team is called the River Rats. So I'm going to change that. Sorry, I skipped ahead of some instructions there. So all I did was basically grab this text tool here over on the side, and I just clicked in there anywhere in this text here, and I Command or Control A to select all. Then I type River Rats. Alright, so it's a little large. It's kind of going from edge to edge. So with that layer still selected over here under the bottom text folders team, I'm going to Command or Control T. And that's just going to transform it. I can change the size. I'm just going to make it just a tad bit smaller right there. Now we got this text up here above. It's a little higher now since I adjusted that. It's okay. I want to call this Lake Norman. That's the area we're in here. Whoops, sorry. Same thing. I'm grabbing the text tool and just clicking in there anywhere. Command or Control A, Lake Norman. Then I'm going to click this little checkbox up here, or you can just hit enter. With that layer still selected, I'm going to grab my move tool, and I'm just going to use my arrows and just hit down a few times until that moves down. And there we go. And this is a baseball team. I'm going to type baseball there. If you want these letters, any of these words, if you want them to space out more, see how this has a bunch of spaces in between each one? Just highlight the whole text. Go to your characters. I have mine pinned to this bar here. If you don't see it, it's going to be under Windows up here. Click Character. And this right here, where it has the V and the A with the arrows going out, you can just up and down with those. If you want it to move faster, hold Shift and then up and down. And that's just put more spaces in between these letters here. I'm going to leave it as is though. Alright, we'll come back later and play with the colors. I'm just going to leave it right there for now. Same with this. This is just a very subtle smoke layer. It's not doing too much, as you can see. I'm going to come back, change those colors. Actually, you know what? I'm going to keep this a white for this, like a barely like a grayish white. So I lied. I did change color on that. Alright, now we have the subject here. We're going to open that folder. I'm going to click this layer, or while I have the move tool, I also have auto select on. So as you can see, look over here in the layers panel. As I'm clicking around, it's just going everywhere. So right now I'm just going to click my subject. I'll turn that auto select on and off a lot while I'm working here. I should probably figure out a keyboard shortcut to do that, but whatever. It's just a little click. Alright, so I got her selected. I'm going to open up my folder, and I'm going to drag this young fella in here. And it's automatically on the transform tool. I'm going to kind of position it. Whoops, sorry. Command or Control T. I clicked out of it, so it turned it off. Put him about right where I want him. Yeah, about right there. Bring him down just a hair. I'm going to hit enter, or you can hit the little check box that was up here. I'm going to turn my previous subject off. Now we're going to grab colors from his jersey. That's really all we're going to do in this folder. Got a little drop shadow effect there. You can turn that on and off, or adjust it to your liking. Maybe that's a little strong for you. You can get in here and just kind of, whoops, sorry. That is not what I meant to do. Let's double click drop shadow here. You can get in this opacity and drop it down a little bit if you want. However you want to do it, it's up to you. Alright, let's close that subject folder. Now we're in the top text, the name up there at the top. So, same thing, grab my text tool. I'm going to click in here. I'm going to type his name. This is a little travel team. I'm not going to use the class or the subtext. You can add whatever you need there. I'm just going to turn that off right there. You can move the name up and down since you turned that off, but again, for tutorial purposes, I'm just going to leave it. Actually, I'll just erase my subject. With auto select on, I just hit move tool, I tapped him, and now I'm just using my up arrow to bring him up a little bit. Alright, so that's it for there. We'll come in later and change the color again. This just has a gradient overlay on it for the color. Actually, let's do it now. Sorry, we got the subject in there, so we can do it now. So I'm going to double click that gradient overlay. You can do a solid color if you want. I think with this design it looks it looks better with a gradient. Excuse me. So now that I have that open, so I'm going to make sure I'm on the gradient overlay here. Then I'm going to just tap this gradient. It's going to open up this. I'm going to start with this middle. For me personally, I'm going to use a lighter color. I'm going to tap that middle box. I'm going to tap this color swatch down here. Now with the eyedropper tool, it automatically selects it. I'm just going to come in here and grab this lighter blue right here where that the light's illuminating it a little more. I'm going to say OK. I want to come here to this darker one. Same thing, click the little square. Then I'm going to click the bigger color swatch. It's going to bring up my eyedropper tool again. I'm going to come up here on the shoulder and grab this darker blue. And what I'm going to do now is Command or Control C to copy that. I might even make it a little darker here. Yeah, right there. Command or Control C to copy that. That way I can come to this side, click the small square, click that color swatch again, and Command or Control V to paste that. So now the two ends are the same color. And it just gave him a nice gradient there for his name. If that's too dark for you, feel free to do something a little lighter. I'm just going to stick with that for educational purposes here. Now we're going to revisit this top one, the bottom text. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to click this color. Actually, let's zoom in a little bit. Not too much, because I'm going to grab those colors from them. I just want you to see what some of these other effects are doing. So right now we have the bevel and emboss. It just gives us just slight little bevel. I didn't want to go too crazy with it. Outer glow, just to help it separate. There we go. Just to help it separate from the background a little more. And the drop shadow, same thing, just to kind of give a little more dimension. I want to go back up here to the gradient overlay. Same thing. I'm going to click that. Click that middle square, grab this lighter blue again. Whoops, sorry. Then I still have it on my clipboard where I copied that darker blue earlier, so I'm just going to Command or Control V on both ends of this. Whoops, I moved that. And that is giving me that same kind of color gradient down here on the bottom. I might make it lighter. Let's do that. I'm going to open that back up by double clicking. Then with this, I'm just going to tap up right there. Command or Control C to copy that. I want to bring it back over to this side. Command or Control V to paste it. So I'll just leave it there for now. Alright, let's keep moving on. Let's see, with the top text. Alright, now we're getting into the middle. Actually, you know what? Let's skip that for now. Me personally, I like working the background first. So here's just your outer edge gradient, or vignette. Just darkening the edges. Just, again, giving it a little more depth for this, making it make more sense because the top and the bottom kind of go dark on the foreground hexagons and those background hexagons. So it just makes more sense to have that, keep that gradient on there. If it's too dark, come up here to the opacity. Feel free to play around with it. or if you don't want them at all, turn them off. All right, so now we're at, let's see, this background that's going to control the top little hexagons. So with this design, they have white and baby blue, and then they have a little bit of trim of black. That might be yeah, it is black. So we're going to play around. I'm not sure what I want to do, so we might try a few things. First, let's just, you know what, let's just go to the very back first. I'm thinking of trying to do a lighter color. I haven't done one of those yet, so I want to try that for this tutorial. See what it looks like. If not, we'll go to a darker. So I want to double click. Well, first off, you have the option of a gradient, which again makes more sense to me, or a solid color for the background. But with the vignette, it's still making it dark around the edges, so it can work. But I'm going to try the vignette again. Or sorry, the gradient. Let's do this light blue again. I want you to see what that does. And then the darker blue again. I want to grab the shadow, this blue right there in the shadow of the shirt, and I'm going to make it even darker. Even darker, right there to like almost a, yeah, like a midnight navy. All right, I want to copy that, pull the same thing over here. There we go. I don't like that middle blue now, so let's make it a little darker. Maybe right there. All right, I'm going to get out of here. First thing I'm going to do is go to the smoke layer, change it again to that just slight, just white with a little bit of gray in it, because there's another layer of smoke in the background. Just pretty subtle. Actually, I'm going to lower the opacity just a little bit on that one. All right, let's go back down. Again, I'm working from the bottom up. So the bottom hexagons, these are these that are kind of glowing in the background. Double click the effects, because all we have is a color overlay and just an outer glow to give it kind of that glow effect. And they're both kind of the same color. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to grab probably just a mid blue here. Let's see what that's doing. It's going to make it very subtle probably. Copied that, and I'm going to paste it in here. I actually don't hate it, but I want it to pop more. So I might keep it white. Let's see what white looks like. It's not too bad. Let's go kind of that same gray, that little darker gray. Command or Control C. I'm just copying this over to the glow. Command or Control V. That's not too bad, but you get it. You know, I can keep playing with it, but for tutorial purposes, you see how it works. All right, so I'm just going to keep moving. Otherwise, I'd probably sit here and nitpick it for an hour. All right, now we're working on this top hexagon layer. That just has a drop shadow on it. To change the color is up above. So again, you can do a gradient color or a solid color, whichever you prefer. I'm a fan of the gradient, so I'm just going to keep working on that. I want to click this gradient up here. Again, I'm going to start in the middle. And I'm going to grab probably, yeah, let's grab this mid blue again. And then click the darker edges. I want to grab that mid blue again, but I'm going to manually just make it darker. Essentially, we're kind of copying what we did on the background, which I haven't done that yet, and it just kind of works for this one, in my opinion. So I want to Command or Control C to copy that. I want to paste that same color here just to keep it even. You know what? If you have 3 colors, feel free. Do like a red, blue, and like a black or something down here. You know, get creative with it. But that's it. That's where we're going with this. If you want to adjust the scale of it, watch the background. You can do that as well. I like keeping it about 90 is where I'm going to keep it. And you can see that it's just giving you a nice little glow right through the center. Some of this up here is still glowing a little. I want to go back and actually to this background, the very bottom one. And I'm going to play with the scale on this one actually. I want it to, that blue to open up a little bit more, the lighter blue. So I want to keep it at about, let's do 120. Actually, let's try 115. I want to keep it right there. This one here, I think I'm gonna, the color overlay for the actual top layer of those hexagons, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna open that up a little bit more. There we go. So I play with the scale a lot within the gradient fills. So feel free to play with those, just make subtle adjustments. And that's really it for the background. Now let's work on the center hex square. It's going to be all within, oops, sorry. It's all going to be within this master folder here. So let's zoom in a little bit more. There's a lot of options in here you can do. So this first layer, outer, well, first off, the actual hex has just this drop shadow effect, the master folder. Come to the first layer within that folder, that's giving you just kind of that, this outer ring. It's giving you that stroke effect. You can turn that on or off. Let's go in and change this. I'm just going to double click that middle one. That's the one giving you the color. The first one, the fill, is at 0, is giving you that little space. You can bring the opacity back up. Sorry, not the fill, but the opacity. You can bring it back up and it'll give you a color. You can change that color. I personally keep it off, but now that I'm saying it out loud, let's bring the opacity up to about 25. Keep it black. Just see what it does. All right, now the second one, that little thin line of orange, we're going to change that. So I click that color swatch. It brings up your eyedropper again. Again, I'm just going to get probably this mid blue here, right there. I'm going to desaturate it just a little by bringing it over, just a hair. Cool. I'll keep that. Then we're going to change the color of this to kind of what we have back here in a minute. All right, let's keep moving. This next folder is going to be everything in the middle. This is where you have a lot of options. Right now I have a logo. Here, let's turn him off for a second. I got my auto select. I just clicked him. Now I'm going to just hide him for a minute. Now I want to come back into this back layer. Here we go. And here's our logo. I want to turn that off. You can open up that folder. You see I just have a sample logo in there with a color overlay. Drag your own logo in here if you want, and feel free to use it. I want to keep that logo on for now. I just want you to see some of the things you can do with the logo. Right here in this sports surfaces folder, I have it turned off. Let's turn it on, and I'll show you what we have in there. Actually, let's turn the logos off just for a second while I show you what's in here. You have add your own. So this just shows where you can just drag a picture in here of a gym, a stadium, golf course, whatever you want. Just drag it in there and use it. Here's just the clouds that I've included, a gym floor, water for any swimmers, ice for your hockey guys, and some grass. Change the colors. Well, this right here just gives a little more contrast for each one of those. Right here, you can get in here and just adjust colors if you want. It's at opacity 30. If you really want a really cool like color overlay, there you go. You can just crank that up. Otherwise, I personally keep it at 30. It's set at default at 30. And just get in here and play around. Just get crazy with your colors. You can get saturated, less saturated, lighter, darker, all that good stuff. Now let me show you. Let's turn the logo back on. Now, if you want that engraved look, you have this. You can, oh, another thing is you can use no background at all. Or no, well, no, I'll shut up for now. Let's just keep looking at the included surfaces. So you can kind of give it that engraved look like in the grass, or let's look at some of these other ones. I personally like doing, I just did one with a logo on the ice. For that, I would turn, let me go back up to the logos, these effects off, and then it looks like it's kind of under the ice, like on a real hockey ring where they have sponsors or logos or something under the ice. So I would just turn all the effects off for that. Just open that up. You could probably still play with the color if you wanted to change the color of it. So I'm going to turn, well, hold on. You could probably do that with the water too. Yeah, just kind of, if you wanted to. Gym floor, you can do it there. Give it that, like it's painted on the floor or something. Let's see here. I have my fill at 41. Crank that up if you want a more solid look on it. I personally like to drop the fill just a little bit so you can see some of the wood texture behind it. But again, feel free to go in there and play with it. I'm going to turn the layers off for now. I'm going to turn these sports surfaces off for now as well. You can also just have a smooth gradient solid color back here. That looks good with the logo, as you can see. Turn it back on. I'm going to turn that color back on. There we go. And it just has that little bit of a embossed bevel feel to it. All right, so I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to turn this off. Well, let's talk about this. The colored hex background, this is where your gradient's going to be for just this background as well. Let me turn my subject back on so we can see what that's doing now. So let's go back down here to colored hex background. So this is just the colored background for the center hex guy. Again, you can do a solid color, which doesn't look terrible. I'm just a fan of the gradient, so I'm going to keep working on this gradient. I'm not going to use this for this design, but I'll still show it to you. This is just a two-stop gradient, a dark and a light. So I'm going to click that darker color. Again, I'm going to come up here, grab that blue and a shadow. Say OK. Do the lighter color. And probably grab this lighter blue here. And that's basically what it's doing to the background of this look. Zoom out. We're about to change the color of this outer ring too. Or you can do no background at all and just have it that kind of concrete texture. That looks good with the logo as well. If you're familiar with my Stone Cold template, is very similar to that now, this background. So you can turn that logo back on with the bezel layer, and it just looks like it's kind of chiseled into the background. Let's make that look better though. Outer edge, let's see, that is, okay, so that's this outer edge, and then this is the color for it right here. That is a solid color. That's the only thing I'm really doing a solid color on. So we're going to come in here and grab, let's just play with some blues. Let's do that, and then I'm going to come in here and make it just a, let's keep it light, fairly light. Just going to keep it right there. I do not have their logo with me, so I'm going to turn the logos back off because it makes no sense to have that one. But if I were to give this to the kid, and what I would do is, what I had earlier when I was playing with this was just the here, let's close that logo, is the sport surfaces. I just had the grass texture. Actually, let's do the clouds, since it kind of works with these colors better. I want to do the clouds. I'm going to turn this color gradient back on, or sorry, color grade back on. Come back up here to blue. I want to make it a little, actually I'm going to keep it kind of dark. I'm going to desaturate it a bit. Just a little. It's not really doing much. Just kind of darkening it just a little. But that's okay. Let's see what else we have here. Sometimes the grass looks really cool just with the... Here, let's change the opacity of this color gray. Just like with a crazy dark, or with a crazy blue color to it. Let's lighten it up some. Whoops. Sorry, it's going nuts here. Yeah, you could just get in here and just, as you see, just play around with it. I want to cancel that. Get out of here. Turn that. Actually, let's leave that at 100 with the sky. There we go. That's what I was doing earlier, or wasn't doing. I forgot to crank that back up to 100. That color grade. I'm going to bring it back down though. Sorry, I'll bring opacity back down. Let's try about 50 something, 60. That's fine. And really, I'm just going to leave it at that for now. Let's just make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Let's close the hex panel back up. I think that covered pretty much everything. That's the kind of concrete texture on it here. If you, sorry, I opened that hex folder back up. So if you look at this outer edge texture, that's just that kind of cement. You could always, if you like just a cleaner, smoother edge, you can just turn that off. Or you can get it, it's at opacity 60, you can drop it back down to in the 20s or something just to give it just a faint little texture. Just make sure we're not missing anything out. So, yep, this is giving it just the outer edge bevel as well. Just some more texture or dimension. And that's really it for this inside hex layer. But as you see, there's a lot of layers. So just get in here and play around with it. The logos are inside the center hex. What's this called? I'm sorry, I should remember. Center hex backgrounds. It's not the solid colors, this is the backgrounds. And as you see, this is optional. You can just keep that completely off and turn this colored hex background. You can just have that colored center, or turn it off and just have that concrete look to keep it real simple. And again, do not forget, you can go in here under the sport surfaces and add your own background. And then play with the colors and the contrast of it right in here. Double click this layers. You can play with the layers sliders if you'd like. All right, let's close down hex, and already went over the vignette and the background, but yeah, that's really it. I mean, I think we covered it all. So again, you have the top text layer, added a vignette to it. The bottom text layers, added a vignette to the whole folder. Subject just has that subtle little shadow there. If I was doing this for a client, obviously I'd sit here and spend a little more time on it, perfect it. I would probably make this little outer ring, I'd probably play with it a little bit more, give it a little different color, or maybe desaturate it some. But you see how it works. Get in here, play around with it. Can't wait to see what you guys create. Thank you.